My family went to Switzerland. Just us. The close ones. According to my mom's post. I wasn't invited, but my travel wallet was. My statement showed 6 tickets. Then my brother accidentally texted me. He's too dumb to notice. I replied, he just did. I reversed every transaction and flagged their IDs on the booking platform. At 6:03 a.m., my phone vibrated two times. When my mom posted that picture with the caption, I thought it was some throwback from a past trip I'd missed, but something about the lighting and the clothes looked recent. I zoomed in. My brother James was wearing the hoodie I'd given him just last Christmas. The snow looked fresh. My dad was in his obnoxious red parka. It hit me this wasn't a throwback. I scrolled through the comments. A family friend asked if the Alps were as beautiful as they looked. Another cousin said, "Wow, Switzerland, living the dream." And then I saw my aunt comment, "Surprised Oscar isn't there with you guys." No one replied. The last time I saw them was 3 weeks earlier, when I proposed a family trip to Oregon, something small, a weekend in a cabin, hot springs, some hiking. My parents looked uncomfortable. Mom said money was tight, and James mumbled something about exams. I paid for lunch that day. I always pay lately. A few days later, my dad called and asked if I could keep the emergency credit card active just in case. I said, sure. I trusted them. It's not like they've ever done anything that shady. But now I was staring at a photo of them in Zurich with 2 people I didn't recognize at first. Then I realized those were my parents' friends, Steve and Donna. They're the kind who smuggle liquor into weddings and fight about karaoke at family events. They're not family. Neither is James's girlfriend, who was in the background of another shot, sticking her tongue out on a ski lift. I opened my banking app, not even knowing what I was expecting. 6 airline tickets from San Francisco Airport to Zurich. Over $8,700 in charges, all within 2 days. 4-star hotels in Interlaken, train rides, ski rentals, few new reservations, even a damn hot air balloon tour. Everything. My emergency card. That card had a $9,000 limit. They maxed it. I just sat there, not angry yet, just stunned, until James's message came in. He meant to text someone else. He's too dumb to notice. Lol. I stared at it for maybe a full minute before I typed back. He just did. Then I spent the next 2 hours on the phone. I reversed every transaction I could, flagged their IDs on the booking platform. They were using my travel wallet account. I had all the passport numbers, photos, and ticket receipts right there. I even sent the ski resort a fraud notice with a copy of my ID. Cancellations started flying. I called the bank, told them the card had been stolen by someone I knew. I wasn't lying. By the time I finished, I had $0 liability and 5 frozen accounts. Their hotel reservations got yanked, ski passes gone, rental van canceled. Even the dinner reservation at that mountaintop revolving restaurant gone. Then at 6:03 a.m., my phone started vibrating two times. I didn't answer. Not the first 3 calls from Mom, not the 5 from James, not the one from Steve's burner number, not the ones from Dad. But when Dad called again at 7:41 a.m., I answered. Son, we need $4,200 to fly back to San Francisco. Can you just help us for now? No. There was silence. I said, hope you enjoy the rest of your time there. You'll have a lot to explain when you get back. Trouble's already waiting. Then I hung up. Let them feel it. They'll be back in 2 days. James has his own money. He can pay for once. I'm not done, not even close. They touched down in San Francisco early Thursday morning. I didn't even need flight tracking. I got the update from Mrs. Langley. She lives across the street from my parents, always peeking out her front window like a human Ring camera. Her message came at 6:12 a.m. They're back. Suitcases look trashed. Your dad's limping. No one smiled. Thought you should know. I was already dressed. I showed up at 6:41. Donna was yelling into her phone, pacing barefoot on the driveway. Steve looked like someone had punched him mid-hangover. My brother James was dragging a busted Samsonite up the steps while his girlfriend sat on it, too tired or too entitled to lift a finger. My parents stood by the door like they were waiting to be sentenced. I didn't bother saying hi. I parked across the street, walked up, and went straight to the point. You owe me $4,100, non-refundable charges. You've got 3 days. Mom blinked, like she didn't understand English. My dad tried to speak but stopped when I pulled out my phone and opened a folder labeled Fraud Docs, screenshots of every transaction, dates, times, their names, their faces on hotel check-in records, passport scans, even their skiing itinerary, all pulled from my travel wallet. They really did use everything. My saved documents, my stored passwords, my emergency credit line. They went through my entire digital life and booked a luxury European vacation, then had the nerve to post it like they'd won a sweepstakes. James stepped forward. "This is insane! You're blowing it way out of proportion!" I turned toward him. "You excluded me." Lied to my face, took my money, then called me dumb in a text meant for someone else. He scoffed. It was meant to be a trip for people who actually know how to relax. You wouldn't have fit in. Yeah, I got that from the Instagram post. Just us, the close ones. His girlfriend muttered something under her breath. I didn't catch it. And I didn't care. I shifted back to my parents. You borrowed trust and turned it into theft. I froze everything, reversed what I could. But I'm still out $4,100. You'll get it back to me, or I'll involve legal. That got their attention. My mom started to say something soft, like an apology that never really lands, but I cut her off. You used Steve and Donna's names on the bookings. That's impersonation. You had no right to do any of it. 3 days. Don't call, don't text, pay, and then I left. By the end of the day, they'd scraped up the money. Uncle Mark came through, though I heard later that he gave James a lecture that lasted an hour and ended with, "You're lucky I don't send you to rehab just for being this stupid." They wired it to me that night. No subject line, no message. Fine. I marked the file repaid, archived the folder, and went to bed, slept like a brick. The next morning, James was outside my building. No text, no warning, just standing there in a hoodie like he expected a sitcom-style resolution. "You ruined the trip for everyone." I leaned against the railing. "You didn't invite me. You could have handled it differently. Quietly, you all excluded me, lied about why, used me, mocked me, and then hoped I wouldn't notice. And now you want what? Sympathy?" He stared at me like he was seeing me for the first time. "You act like you're better than everyone." I didn't answer, because I am better than people who pull what they did. He left. No apology, no shame, just some bitter look. He probably practiced in the mirror, but he had a bigger problem coming, because I've been paying his tuition for the last 1.5 years. Next semester, he's on his own. I didn't make a speech, didn't call a family meeting. I just went into the university portal, opened the finance section, and removed my card from James' tuition plan, disabled autopay, closed the tab. He probably thought I'd forgotten. The deadline passed quietly. A week later, the system flagged his unpaid balance, $6,042. The hold hit his account. No registration, no access to the student portal, just a polite email. Your enrollment has been suspended due to non-payment. That's when the silence broke. James texted first, casual. "Hey, something glitched with the payment. I think tuition didn't go through. Can you check it?" I left it on read. Next came the call. I ignored it. Then the voicemail. Half concern, half command. "Can you just take care of this today, please? I've got labs starting soon." Not a single word about what he'd done. Just assumed the engine would keep running. Then Mom tried. 3 voicemails. The last one was nearly 5 minutes long. It started calm, too calm, and turned into some meandering monologue about forgiveness, how families make mistakes, and how I needed to stop letting money define me. That line stuck in my head. Money defines me. Like I didn't spend years covering their rent when Dad was out of work. Like I didn't drop 5 figures on James' tuition last year while working weekends to keep up. They didn't seem to mind money when I was their walking bank account. A day later, Dad messaged me. Short, no emotion. I understand. Do what you have to do. That one landed differently, but not enough to change anything. Then James tried again. You're seriously not paying? I replied. Correct. The next call was full of heat. You're a joke, man. You're ruining my future over a vacation. That's how small you are. No, I'm holding you accountable. That's how tired I am. You don't get it. I need this semester. I'm behind already. I didn't ask you to book ski trips with my card or post about it while pretending I didn't exist. Jesus, you're bitter. You're a thief. Then came silence. For a second, I thought he hung up. Then he said something I'll never forget. You were never family. You were a wallet. You just don't like being empty now. I hung up. 3 days later, my aunt texted me, not even one I'm close to. She said I should be ashamed, that James was family, that I should have handled this privately. I didn't respond. Then came a cousin. Then another. Someone even emailed me an article about financial boundaries and grace. They didn't know the half of it. Then Sunday came. I got up early and drove to my parents' house, knocked once. Nobody answered. I didn't expect them to. The spare keys were still hanging on the rack inside the garage. I took them and drove off in the silver Civic I'd given them last year. At the time, I had 2 cars and they were always borrowing rides. I thought I was doing something kind. Now I was just restoring order. That Civic was mine again. I pulled it into my driveway and sat for a minute, engine still running. No one called. No one texted. I guess they finally understood. You don't get to spend years treating someone like a safety net and then cry betrayal when they cut the rope. They thought I was bluffing, but this wasn't poker. It was the bill coming due. It had been 3 weeks since the tuition bomb. Not a word from James, no texts, no tantrums. That silence was suspicious in itself. My guess was he was scrambling behind the scenes, looking for another handout, maybe even hoping I'd cave if he just waited long enough. But he didn't wait. The call came on a Thursday afternoon, unknown number. I picked up. Hi, is this Oscar Palmer? Yes. This is Jenna from Student Accounts at Selledge University. We've been trying to reach you regarding an unpaid tuition balance. You're listed here as the financial guarantor on the account for James Palmer. My stomach dropped. There must be a mistake. I never agreed to that. She paused. We have a signed form on file with your name and signature. I asked her to email it to me. She did. I opened the PDF, and there it was. My name, my address, phone number, and the worst part, a forged signature that almost, but not quite looked like mine. The box checked next to assumes financial responsibility in the event of non-payment hit harder than any insult ever had. I felt cold. James hadn't just taken advantage of me. He'd forged legal documents to do it. I called her back immediately and filed a fraud claim. Sent my ID, real signature samples, screenshots of messages with James. She said the matter would be investigated, but until it was resolved, I was considered responsible. If it wasn't cleared, the debt would hit my credit. This was beyond betrayal. This was war. I didn't call James. Not yet. I needed someone who would understand the weight. He's always been different, more distant from the chaos of the rest of the family. No fake smiles, no guilt trips, just quiet judgment and solid memory. I'd brought the forged document with me, sat down across from him at his tiny kitchen table, and laid it out without any dramatics. He read it slowly, then looked at me and asked just one question. Did you already report it? Yeah. He nodded once, then stood up, walked into the back room, and came out with a small lockbox. I'd never seen it before. He unlocked it, pulled out a folded deed, and handed it to me. It was for the family lake cabin, the one I hadn't been to since I was 13. "I'm giving this to you," he said. "No one else deserves it. I'll call my lawyer on Monday." I just sat there holding the deed, unsure how to react. He'd never given anyone in our family anything like that before. Then he added, "I always knew you were the only one who'd grow up." On the way home, James finally broke the silence. I saw his name flash across my screen. I let it ring twice, then answered. "I need you to stop. I know you told the school. You forged my name. I had no choice, man. I thought you'd be cool about it, like always. Cool about fraud? It's $6,000. You could have just paid it." "I could have, but you made sure I wouldn't want to." There was a pause. Then he switched gears. "I'm going to get kicked out. I can't register. They're threatening collections." "Are you seriously going to leave me hanging like this?" "Yes, you're heartless." "No. I just finally got tired of being your insurance policy." He hung up. This time, no dramatic insult, no guilt trip, just silence. An hour later, my mom called. Her message started soft. "I know things are bad between you and James, but we really can't believe you're letting this destroy everything." Then it got bitter. "You're acting like we're strangers." "No," I thought. "You made me a stranger the moment you booked flights to Switzerland with my card and captioned it just the close ones." Then a cousin messaged me, one I hadn't spoken to in a year, said I was turning into a real disappointment, said I used to be generous, said I was changing. Maybe I was. The next day, I went to my parents' house, walked in through the side garage door, and grabbed the Civic key off the hook. I didn't announce it. I just drove the car home. That car had my name on the title anyway. No one stopped me. No one said anything. I guess they all realized the same thing at the same time. I was done. And the guy they thought was just a safety net, he was about to become the biggest problem they'd ever created. By the end of the month, James was officially out. No classes, no re-registration, no backup plan. I confirmed it myself by logging into the university's public directory. His name was gone. He'd vanished from the system. I guess he thought someone would swoop in at the last second. Maybe my parents, maybe another cousin, but no one did. Not this time. I kept expecting more drama, more messages, more rage, but everything went eerily quiet. Then slowly, something unexpected started happening. People began to switch sides. Not everyone. My mom was still furious. She sent me cold, clipped texts about how disappointed she was, how I should have handled things internally, like this was some kind of office dispute. But the tone was different now. Less power behind it, less control. But cousins, aunts, even family friends, people I thought were fully bought into the narrative that I'd abandoned my family, started reaching out, at first just to ask what really happened. Then they started telling me things I never knew. One cousin said my mom had already started asking her husband if he could co-sign a small loan for James's education situation. Another said my parents had floated the idea of refinancing the house, blaming me for putting them in a tough spot. And then, most surprisingly, one of James's own friends DM'd me on Instagram. "Just wanted to say I get why you cut him off. He told us what happened, left out a lot, but we figured it out. You're not the bad guy, man." Honestly, we're all kind of impressed. It was surreal. And then came the call from my grandfather's lawyer. The transfer of the lake cabin was finalized, but he added something I didn't expect. "Your grandfather updated his will last week. He said he's removed your parents and James as beneficiaries. He said he no longer trusts them. He named you sole inheritor on his side. I didn't ask for any of that. I never wanted to be the center of some estate drama, but apparently my grandfather had seen enough. He'd watched everything unfold quietly, like he always did, and drawn his own conclusions. That same weekend, I decided to take a drive to the cabin just to see it. It was quiet, isolated, and a little rough around the edges, but it felt untouched, like a place where people didn't shout or lie or steal credit cards. I sat on the back porch for over an hour, staring out at the lake. I hadn't felt that kind of calm in years. When I got back, my dad was waiting outside my apartment. No text, no warning, just leaning on the railing by the stairs. I just wanted to talk, he said. Not to fix anything, just to be honest. I let him speak. He admitted they'd crossed the line, that they'd relied on me too much, expected too much, that they'd allowed James to believe he was entitled to everything and accountable for nothing, that even though he didn't agree with how I handled it at first, he saw it now. You were right to draw the line, he said. Then he reached out his hand. I didn't expect that, but I shook it. There wasn't much else to say. Later that night, I got a message from James. All you had to do was help like before. You destroyed everything. I read it once, then again. Then I archived the thread and moved on. Because by now, everyone finally understood something I'd known for a long time. I wasn't the problem. I was just the only one willing to stop being part of it. By the time spring rolled in, I hadn't heard from James in almost a month. The silence wasn't loud anymore. It was expected. I had no idea where he was living, how he was surviving, or if he had finally found a job that stuck. A part of me wanted to ask, just out of curiosity, but curiosity is what got me burned in the first place. Then one afternoon, a message came through. It was short, hesitant. It's James. Can we talk? My first thought, why now? But I said yes. We met in the back of a cheap coffee shop near the community college he used to mock. He looked thinner, older, like someone who'd had to grow up quickly under fluorescent lights and bad sleep. He didn't dress up for the apology. That made it more believable. He started with what I expected, said he knew he'd gone too far, that he didn't understand what I was carrying until it all fell back on him, said he made excuses for years because it was easier than changing. But then he said something different. I didn't just screw up your money. I screwed up how you saw all of us. I think that's what I regret most. I let that sit for a second. I don't hate you, I said, but I don't trust you either. He nodded, said he didn't expect me to. Then he offered something I absolutely didn't expect. I want to pay you back. I actually laughed, not because it was funny, but because it sounded impossible. He didn't flinch. Little by little, even if it takes years. I didn't answer. I just stood up, nodded, and walked out. I didn't tell him to keep in touch. I didn't offer to help him get started. I didn't hug him or forgive him or make a big scene. I just left it where it was. Some debts aren't about money. And some peace doesn't come from fixing things. It comes from leaving them broken and choosing to move forward anyway. That weekend, I drove to the cabin again. The air was still cold, the lake half frozen, but I opened all the windows anyway, let everything air out. I made a fire, drank coffee on the porch, and didn't look at my phone once. It was the first time I realized I didn't feel like I was protecting my peace anymore. I was just living in it. The cousin who once called me cold texted again a few days later. He asked how I was, said he admired how I handled everything, said it made him rethink how much he'd let people use him too. People noticed. They were watching. Turns out standing up for yourself makes a lot of the quiet ones feel braver too, even the ones who never said a word when you were being pulled apart. 2 weeks later, I went to see my grandfather again. We didn't talk about James or my parents or anything dramatic. Just sat on his porch, watching birds fight over crusts of bread like it was life or death. Then he turned to me and said, I thought you'd grow bitter from all this. I thought so too, I said, but you didn't. You just got stronger. That was it. No long speeches, no final lessons, because I already had what I needed. The money didn't matter anymore. The tuition, the trip, the fake signatures, the betrayal, it all became background noise. Because the most important thing I got out of this wasn't the lake cabin. It was proof that I never needed any of them to be whole. And the moment I stopped letting them chip away at me, I became someone they could never break again. It's been a year since Switzerland, since the text that lit the fuse, since I pulled back every dollar, shut off every faucet, and let the bridge burn itself down. James never paid me back, not a cent, but he never asked for another either. He's working full-time now, last I heard. Warehouse shifts, something with night hours. Not glamorous, not what he planned, but honest and quiet. My parents still haven't apologized. Not really. They circle around it, ask how I'm doing, send a birthday card without signing it, as if small gestures might patch something deep and broken. I don't chase it. I don't ignore it. I just let it be. The family talks about me differently now, less like I'm cold, more like I did what they wish they'd had the courage to do. Boundaries are contagious, it turns out. Since then, 2 cousins stopped lending money to their parents. Another one left a toxic family group chat altogether,